It says I've scored 78. Don't remember eating 78 fish. Okay, now before I set you the next task, if you think you've solved the last one, can you check something for me if you didn't use the solution video? When you press the green flag, do you find that your fish sits there for a little while before the 3 clones have been created? Because if you did, it's probably because you have code that looks a bit like this. Okay, you've got code that looks a bit like that. Fish there, 3 clones, then he goes. So the thing here was actually I needed that in the clone, I need to hide the original, do that, and now look what happens. 1, 2, 3 clones. So just make sure you've got that right, because it is annoying to have the original fish there. Now we move on. I think we need a scoring system. We need to keep score every time the shark grabs a fish or eats a fish. So to do that, we're going to basically ask you to do 2 things, and that is to make sure that when the shark eats a fish, the score goes up by 1, and when the game starts, the score is set to 0. So we need a score, and to do that we need to head over here to variables, and when we click on this one we get these options here, and you notice nothing about score because we haven't got a variable called score. So at the top we need to make a variable, and I'm going to call that score, and I'm not concerned about the fact that I've got these 2 options here. I'm just going to leave them alone. I'm going to press OK. Now the only 2 things that have happened are on the left hand side there's a little orange box called score there, and on the game itself the word score and a score there has appeared. And interestingly enough, you can actually right click and you can choose a large readout. It doesn't have the word score in it. Then you can have a slider, which is interesting, because then if I do this and go back to what it was, it says I've scored 78. Don't remember eating 78 fish. So here's the thing. I want you to create a little bit of code here that when the game starts, the score is set to 0. Now, here's a little tip for you. We're going to have score, we're going to have lives, we may have all sorts of other things going on with variables later on in this game. So what I want is I want you to set the game up so that when the game starts the score is 0. But I don't really want that code hidden away on the fish or the shark, so we might have lots of other graphics here. Now the best place that you can drop the code for when the game starts, set the score to 0, is you can actually put it on the stage or the backdrop itself. Now you're thinking, oh, I didn't know that, I just thought it was for making pretty backgrounds. But actually there's a code button here, and in here we can have access to not all of the blocks, but some of the blocks. But I certainly can, when green flag is clicked, go to variables and do something to set the score to 0. So what we want is this, back on the fish. You're going to set it up so when the game starts the score is 0, and every time you eat a fish you increase the score by 1. That's it. See if you can work out what blocks you need, see if you can work out where they need to go, and as per normal there's a solution video coming along if you need a bit of extra help.